Welcome to ESL Class 101, where English is made simple and learning is made fun. Process versus completion. We use the past perfect continuous when we want to show that an action was unfolding right up until a specific past moment. Example: Marcus had been sketching for over an hour when a sudden blackout interrupted his work. We use the past perfect when we need to stress that an activity was fully completed before another past event occurred. Example: Marcus had finished his sketch before the blackout occurred. Here, the focus is on the finished task rather than on the ongoing process. When the focus isn't on the nuance between a completed action and its duration, many action verbs work equally well in either the past perfect or the past perfect continuous. This interchangeability is found with durative verbs like work, study, and live. Study these examples.
He had worked at the firm for 7 years before he moved on. He had been working at the firm for 7 years before he moved on. They had studied for the exam until midnight. They had been studying for the exam until midnight.
When your goal is to count the number of occurrences rather than describe how long an action lasted, the past perfect is most appropriate. Study these examples. By the end of the semester, the professor had organized 3 research seminars. By the time someone answered, he had knocked on the door 3 times. We use the past perfect continuous when we need to show that an activity was in progress right up to a specific reference moment, and then, at that moment, the action ended. It emphasizes that there was no gap between the ongoing action and the moment of interruption. Example: They had been rehearsing for nearly 2 hours when the final performance was unexpectedly canceled. We use the past perfect continuous when we want to emphasize that an action started before a specific reference moment and continued even after that moment. Example: By the time the party started, we had been hanging decorations for over an hour, and we kept adding new touches even as the guests began to arrive. We use the past perfect continuous when we want to show that an action had recently been in progress and ended just before a reference moment, with its effects still evident. Example: When I entered the room, I noticed Jake's clothes were damp. He had been cycling hard moments before. When should we use the past continuous instead of the past perfect continuous? If we are not interested in the duration of an activity or action, we can use the past continuous rather than the past perfect continuous. Consider and compare these sentences. Dave met Faye when she was going out with his friend. Dave first met Faye and Leo when they had been going out together for 3 years. When I left the office, I overheard 2 of my team members talking in the break room. They were negotiating something. When the contract was finalized, it became clear that the legal team had been negotiating its terms for months. Stative verbs, verbs describing feelings, cognition, or possession, are generally not used in continuous constructions. Instead, we use their non-progressive forms, including perfect tenses. I had known Sarah for over 10 years when we finally started working on a project together. Even though the sentence implies a long-standing state, we use the past perfect because the stative verb, know, does not typically take continuous forms. The past perfect continuous is particularly valuable in written narratives for providing detailed background context and building tension. Example: the investigation revealed that the researcher had been testing the new hypothesis for weeks before a breakthrough was finally achieved. That's all for today. Feel free to rewatch the video if you need a refresher. Remember, repetition leads to mastery. See you next time.